This chapter begins the history of the Medes as a world power. Darius was king, Cyrus, a Persian, was his general. As one would expect, when a new leader came to power, there was a reorganization of the government. Daniel was given the top government position. This caused problems almost immediately. Again, we see the working of the great controversy between Christ and Satan. The devil, through wicked men, laid a plot designed to destroy the righteous. All over the realm lived many of God's people. And had the plot been successful in destroying Daniel, no doubt their lives would have been in jeopardy as well. In the great controversy depicted here, God sets up a good man who is conscientious, steadfast, and honest. The devil employs the use of envy in order to bring ruin to God's man. The devil used spies, conspiracy, flattery, and even the framing of an impious law and falsehood. But the all-powerful God brought good out of evil. It pleased Darius to set up over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Verses 1 through 3. Darius was keen and perceptive in evaluating men's capacities. Because he was interested in the public welfare, and because this investigation showed Daniel, even though an old man, to be best qualified to occupy the top position in his kingdom, Darius made Daniel his right-hand man. He employed 120 top men to help him manage the affairs of the Medo-Persian Empire. 40 princes were responsible to one of the top 3 presidents. Daniel was given the top post so that the other 2 presidents were responsible to him. What kind of man was this Daniel? His qualities were summed up in one expression. He had an excellent spirit. This reputation was one of long-standing and had to do with his integrity, his constant faithfulness, his loyalty to duty. When given responsibility, he acted responsibly. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom. But they could find none occasion or fault, for as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. Then said these men, We shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king, and said thus unto him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors, and the princes, the counselors, and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute, and to make a firm decree, that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree, and sign the writing, that it might not be changed, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Verses 4 through 9. In the appointment of Daniel to the top, high-level position in the new government, little did Darius realize this would awaken against Daniel the envy of the other high officials. Those jealous ones left no stone unturned in their efforts to find something against Daniel. They found, however, that he was ever faithful and fair in his dealings and had never wronged anyone. What an example for men in public office. Just a word about envy. The Bible indicates that the presence of a good person often causes the wicked to be envious. Read Ecclesiastes 4, verse 4, and Proverbs chapter 27, verse 4. When these envious men failed to find any fault in Daniel's record, they sought to cast doubt and reflection upon him in the matter of the worship of his God. So they set about to persuade the king Darius to put into law a decree which they had contrived. There is no doubt they deceived the king. In fact, they lied. Daniel had not been consulted regarding the decree. Furthermore, they concealed from the king the intention of the decree. All the king had to do was to sign the already written decree, which he did, and then, according to the constitution of the Medes and Persians, it could not be altered nor dispensed with until the 30 days were finished. When Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed, and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. Then these men assembled, and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God. Then they came near, and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree, that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, The thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Then answered they and said before the king, That Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men assembled unto the king, and said unto the king, Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is, that no decree nor statute which the king establisheth may be changed. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel, and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy God, whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. And a stone was brought, and laid upon the mouth of the den. And the king sealed it with his own signet, and with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Verses 10 through 17. Even though Darius had signed the decree, it did not make the least difference to Daniel. His duty to his God transcended his responsibility to man. He made no change in the manner of his worship. The men who had influenced Darius to pass this 30-day law were determined to destroy Daniel. From the presence of the king, they went to the place where they had seen Daniel habitually 3 times every day praying to his God. Immediately they accused Daniel before the king. Their denunciation of Daniel did not have the desired effect. Instead of jealousy and anger, the king saw he had been tricked into signing the decree because of men who wanted to get rid of his highly valued friend. So the king worked earnestly all day, trying to find a way to keep from sentencing Daniel to the lion's den. At sunset, Daniel's enemies returned to Darius and urged him to carry out the sentence, reminding him of the ironclad nature of the laws of the Medes and Persians. However, as the king ordered the sentence executed, he did so with a prayer of faith in the ability of Daniel's God to deliver him. The cave evidently had a small opening because it was possible to close it off with a stone. Every provision was made for the destruction of Daniel. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. Then the king rose very early in the morning and went in haste into the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions? Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angel, and have shut the lions' mouths, that they have not hurt me, forasmuch as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. Then was the king exceeding glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God. Verses 18 through 23. The king went to his palace and spent the night without food. Neither was he entertained with music. He could not sleep. In all probability he did lie down, but very early he rose and hurried to the den of lions. It is very significant he should refer to Daniel as the servant of the living God. The king was anxious to affirm the power of Daniel's God, even though he was down there with the lions. What respect Daniel showed to Darius. O king, live forever. Because of the lion's den experience, he brought no accusation against his king. Daniel seized the opportunity to tell what God had done for him. The demands of the Medo-Persian law had been met, but the design on Daniel had been thwarted by just one angel from heaven. Daniel's belief in his God was a saving belief, but in addition, he was innocent of the charges brought against him. Praying to his God had not hurt the king. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives. And the lions had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces, or ever they came at the bottom of the den. Verse 24. Daniel's deliverance made no change in the guilt of his accusers, who had purposed to destroy Daniel. At the command of the king, the destruction designed for Daniel now became their lot. With savage brutality, not only Daniel's accusers, but also their innocent wives and children were all cast into the den of lions. This was in harmony with the customs practiced by both the Medes and the Persians. Even the Hebrew people sometimes did the same thing. Joshua chapter 7 verses 14 through 26. Though this practice was strictly forbidden by Moses in Deuteronomy chapter 24 verse 16. Then King Darius wrote unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, Peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree, that in every dominion of my kingdom men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God, and steadfast forever. And his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivereth and rescueth, and he worketh signs and wonders in heaven and in earth, who have delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. Verses 25 through 28. Of his own volition, Darius made a decree and had it sent all over the earth. He wanted Daniel's God to be recognized as the living God. He requested them to honor and reverence him. It is evident that Darius had a very clear view of the true and living God. Daniel had been a convincing witness for God. He was more than an ordinary statesman, since he served well the governments under three great rulers, Nebuchadnezzar, Darius, and Cyrus. In summary, the plot of these wicked men was the result of envy, jealousy, and the hatred of a good man. Their conspiracy was sure to be successful, for they could count on the unswerving integrity of Daniel in serving his God. The law these men designed was an infringement on religious freedom. There was no opportunity to bring any accusation against Daniel regarding the affairs of the government. He was upright and honest. He had been fair in his dealings with all people. There had never been any embezzlement of public funds, so their only hope of making their plot successful was to design a law that would make illegal the worship of the true God. This they did. There was one thing, however, they had not taken into account. The providence of God is constantly at work. From the story of Daniel's deliverance, we may learn that in seasons of trial and gloom, God's children should be just as they were when their prospects were bright with hope and the surroundings all that they could desire. Daniel in the lion's den was the same Daniel who stood before the king as chief among the ministers of state and as a prophet of the Most High. A man whose heart is stayed upon God will be the same in the hour of his greatest trial as he is in prosperity. When the light and favor of God and of man beam upon him, faith reaches to the unseen and grasps eternal realities. Heaven is very near those who suffer for righteousness' sake. Christ identifies his interests with the interests of his faithful people. He suffers in the person of his saints, and whoever touches his chosen ones touches him. The power that is near to deliver from physical harm or distress is also near to save from the greater evil, making it possible for the servant of God to maintain his integrity under all circumstances and to triumph through divine grace. E. G. White, Prophets and Kings, pages 543, 544.